TYFU.
Are you loose?
I'm so loose right now. I feel like we should record a podcast.
All right. Well, I'm here. You're here. Kelly's here.
Your hair looks great.
Oh, thank you.
I'm just going to dive right into that one.
I've had a glow up, Marilla.
Not that you guys see her all the time, but Beth's hair is entirely different now. Mm-hmm. Different color?
Different color, different length, different cut. I'm feeling pretty frisky.
Different Beth.
I think that maybe now is the moment where I'm ready to start videoing.
Okay, unfair. I'm sitting here in my pajamas, no makeup, and dirty hair, and Beth's like, I'm ready for my close-up.
Why are we videoing this? This is the chance. This is the one chance.
Moment. She's got a dress on. She's got a necklace on.
I got a necklace on.
I look like a 14-year-old prepubescent boy right now.
I mean, it suits you.
Oh, thanks. That makes it better.
Do you feel intimidated by me right now? I hope so. Just say yes.
I feel more attracted.
I love it. That's even better.
More attracted than intimidated.
It's magnetic, isn't it?
It's magnetic.
Yep.
I'm going to have a hard time focusing on this one.
Well, let's try, though. Let's try to have a podcast.
Try.
Do you have any business?
Not specifically, although I'm just going to spring this on you and Kelly. I feel like when we don't have business, it's a perfect opportunity to share just maybe a small moment in retail that popped out during the week. And I just...
you got a story to tell?
I do.
Spring
actually.
it.
Let's spring it.
Let's get sprung.
This week in retail, weekend, I had someone email me and ask me what my hours were, which is fine.
It's impossible to tell.
Thank you.
It's impossible to tell by your website or Google or...
That is validating.
Okay.
I like where that's going. I responded to her on a Sunday. I just happened to see the email come through. I responded. I said, this is our hours. And if you lose track of this email for any reason, you can always find our hours on Google and our Facebook. Thanks so much. Exclamation points.
Oh, you meant it.
I meant it.
You emphasized it. Thanks so much. Emphasized.
I signed my name and I pressed send. And this morning I woke up to an email from this individual saying, thanks so much. I looked on your Facebook. I didn't see anything before I sent this email, but I guess next time, I didn't see it on your website, but I guess next time I just won't bother if it's such an inconvenience for you to tell me when your hours are.
What the hell? What?
Oh, mama. Oh, mama.
Did you respond? I don't think I would have.
You know what? I responded so nicely, Beth.
I don't believe you.
No, I did.
No, okay.
I did. Listen, I don't know if it's ever interpreted the way I intend, but I love killing those people with kindness.
Yeah, it reminds me of when that woman said not cute to you on our social media episode.
Yes,
You're like,
last
they
episode.
were like, not cute.
Not cute.
And you said,
nice lipstick.
Ooh, I love your look.
I love your look. Yeah, literally, I was like, oh, not at all an inconvenience. I love when people ask when our hours are. I just, take time off on the weekend and feel bad if I don't see someone's message. So if that occurs and I don't respond right away, here's how you can find our hours. So that's what I said to her. It was very professional, but I did feel a bit disgruntled with her response. So anyway, that happened to me this weekend.
I hope she's a listener. She's probably not.
I don't know. Are my hours on the website?
Kelly has just brought up on his phone.
My hours are on the website.
It looks like it's clear and understandable. And
all right, we have
easy
proof
to find.
right here. That goes to show.
What's this, Marillas.com?
Marillas.com. That goes to show how little work I do for my customers, though. Because
I challenge our listeners. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
But hold on. I challenge our listeners. Marillas.com. See if you can find this woman's hours because.
Yes. And then flood us with screenshots.
What were you going to say?
To be fair, I was going to say, I thought that I did not have my hours listed on my website. To be fair, because you know what I don't have on my website?
Your address?
My phone number.
Well, that's real.
Yeah, I don't have the phone number on the website. And sometimes people will be like, by the way, you don't have your phone number on your website. And I say, oh, yeah.
That's so you don't call me.
It is exactly so that you don't call me. Not really, because our phone number's on Google and our phone number's on Facebook, but I don't have it on the website because I have a contact page on the website. Mm-hmm. Anyway, all I do is serve the people, and
I'm sorry,
it doesn't
Marilla.
really constitute an episode, but I was like, this is just...
I got to get it off my chest, you said.
Get it off my chest. So anyway, I think we should have an official get it off your chest
segment.
Segment if we don't have business, and that is what I'm submitting to the board.
Thank you.
Today. Thank you.
Love it.
Anyway, do we have an envelope this week, or is it just me complaining about people trying to give me business?
You're never open.
You're never open, and I can't find your hours.
And now a word from our sponsor.
So, Beth.
Yes, Marilla.
I was posting on Instagram, and I have to say, our recording space is just beautiful.
The Red Room Studio?
Yes, you have a way with decorating.
Well, thanks.
Not everybody can do that. But if you're looking for a great location to decorate your space, you should check out Axom Home in Rochester.
Axom.
Axom. It's a destination for modern furniture and accessories to make your home reflect your own unique style.
Furniture?
Axom's got it.
Vases?
Axom's got it.
Vases?
Axom's got it.
Clocks?
They've got it. It's a great place for people with a great sense of design but don't want to pay for a designer.
Find it at Axom in the heart of the South Wedge in Rochester, New York, and online at axomhome.com.
Why don't you rip that chubby envelope?
Ripping. Okay, the topic this week, Marilla,
Lay it on me, Beth.
is emotional labor.
Emotional
labor.
Not the kind of childbearing labor
No,
that one would think of.
not the labor
Not
party.
the labor.
Labor party, Labour.
No. Emotional
Labor.
labor. Define this. What are we thinking? What are we talking about?
Well, I think something that happens in retail, and again, I don't think it's just specific to retail. I think you can be a bartender and it happens, or a cab driver and it happens, or
a choo-choo train operator.
and you can be a person and
Right.
it happens, where a customer will overshare in a way that feels draining and sometimes inappropriate to the circumstance of them buying something from you standing behind a counter. We've kind of hovered around this topic in the boundaries episode.
Yes, I was wondering,
Yeah.
when we were kind of tossing this idea around, I was thinking about, in my brain, I was thinking, have we done this before? Have we talked about this before? Because I think so often you dance around this topic in so many other episodes because it happens so often to us. So like in the boundaries one, I think we did touch on it a little bit. Mm-hmm. But when you suggested we make it a whole episode, after I thought, oh, we've done that, I thought, no, we actually haven't. And there's a lot to unpack there. And I bet our listeners have a lot to unpack there too. Mm-hmm. So if you're listening to this and you have a story, please send it to us. We will do a recap just for you, maybe. Maybe.
Possibly.
Maybe, if Kelly says we can.
We might do a segment.
We could. We could do a segment. We could have so many segments on these podcasts.
If Kelly says we can.
That's right.
Well, I don't know how you want to get into it. I mean, I've got a number of things. I mean, may I start, actually?
You know what? Yes.
Okay.
You may.
Speaking, I mean, I know we've touched on this in other episodes where customers become really concerned about our survival.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I shouldn't have that response, but yes.
This is, I mean, I know that they're trying to be compassionate. Mm-hmm. And they're trying to be supportive. But it sort of feels like they're trying to put on us their own concerns about us surviving so that we can prop them up
Yes,
you
and
know,
like make
that
them
we can
feel better about the plight of small business in Main Street America.
Right.
Yes.
So we can say, no, we're fine. Everything's okay. You can cease worrying, customer.
Yeah, you don't have to believe that
you don't
article
have
you
to be-
read with all those statistics. You can just listen to us. We're fine.
Listen, I'm going to go right in. I mean,
Just
first
do
of
it.
all, let's apologize to our listener because
in advance.
this is going to be a tough, triggering episode, I think. I'm about to talk about death. Right.
Okay.
It reminds me of have you ever been to a funeral? I think you have. You ever
once
been
or
a
twice.
griever?
Yes.
I think you have. Me too.
Yeah.
And you know how you're standing in the calling hours line?
yes.
And everybody's coming through and
Yes.
expressing their grief to you.
Yes.
And you feel like you're actually
Consoling
them.
about your dead dad.
Right.
Just so you guys know, we're in the dead dad
We're in the
club.
dead dad. Like,
Beth and
my
I are-
biological
yeah.
father is alive. Hi, Dad. I know you're a listener. I'm so glad to still have you here. But my stepfather,
Bruce.
unfortunately, has passed.
Yeah.
So
we're in the dead dad club.
We have the dead dad club in a
Yes.
way.
So we can talk about this, and that is why we're warning
Sorry,
you guys.
Dad. Are you okay?
Okay.
Not
so
funny.
we've got the warning. Not funny. We just lost a listener. It's Beth's dad.
Not my dad. Okay, but let's get back on track.
Okay, back on track.
We've both been in calling hours lines.
Yes.
And you know how it feels when you're propping somebody else up and they're like,
And
they're not
they're-
that close to the death.
Right. And they're like sobbing in your arms.
Yes.
And
you're patting them on the back and
Yes.
saying, I'm
They're
so
there.
sorry you're going through this.
Yeah. Yes. And meanwhile, you feel like, I have to meet everyone else that's also going
Yeah,
through
that's
this.
right. I've got to say this 300 more times.
Yeah. And sometimes it can feel that way as a small business, especially during times like, during unprecedented times.
A pandemic comes to mind.
Yeah. It comes to mind where everybody wants to have that conversation, but it doesn't feel like it's about you. It's about their fear or emotional space that they're in. And somehow, on top of doing your job and selling them a book or oatmeal,
A shampoo bar.
also have to therapize them through their fears.
And this particular example is so complicated for me because
Yeah.
it looks like it's an act of generosity on their part, but actually it's an ask.
Yeah, which
It's really complicated.
it really is. Because also I think that some customers, I feel like it is an act of generosity. And some customers, well, sometimes they're not customers. That makes it easy.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, it is not.
No, they
And
just
so
like,
there's no like hard line either. Like you kind of it's a vibe. It's a vibe
It is
that
a
you gotta
vibe.
pick up
So
on
often.
which is crazy because you might not be in a very like emotionally sound state the day
Yeah.
that they come in
Yeah.
and start unloading, unpacking. I don't even know. Like,
yeah, like pandemic comes to mind as it does. And I know we don't like to talk about it too much because
every
it was
episode
hard.
we talk about it.
It was hard. I'm glad it's, quote unquote over.
Right.
But I think during that time, people really needed our support.
right.
As we were suffering as small businesses, it just felt so labor intensive at that time to
Right.
assure everyone that we were going to survive.
Well, yeah. And I think during uncertain times, whether it's the pandemic, whether it's the here and now, whether it's during the Great Depression, like who knows when, I think in uncertain times, people look at their favorite shops, their libraries, their community centers for safety and
Stability.
normalcy and
Yeah,
stability.
that's a great point.
And so, in a sense, as a shopkeeper, I think you're more than just Beth and Marilla. You're just a piece of a
You're
security
the
blanket.
world as people know it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. This podcast
And-
is so deep. All right.
You wanna
Well,
just wrap
I'm going
it?
to pack it up. That was nice. Let's go.
I got some more. You've got some.
All right. Yeah. So anyway, what else?
Okay.
What's
This
next?
episode sucks.
That's the title of the episode. What's next?
I feel, well, I'm going to go into a kind of a spin-off on the first one.
Okay.
Because,
Let's do it.
and then I have a fun story.
Okay. I love this. A little bait and switch.
Yeah. There's the customer who comes in who often doesn't buy something, but announces to you how important it is to shop local, to support local businesses, to make sure that you are spending your dollars in your community.
Talks about how long they've been supporting you.
Yep.
Yep.
And what they're actually doing is needing your validation.
Yeah, they're just
They're
posturing.
asking for, they want you to say, oh, I so appreciate you.
Yep.
I see you. You're a hero.
You're enough.
You're doing good work.
Yeah.
You're enough.
Yeah.
What do you feel about this?
I don't like it. And normally and this is, okay, sometimes our listeners will ask us, if this is them. Are you guys talking about me? Sometimes I feel like you're talking about me. Listen, here's how you know if we're talking about you. If you
We'll
come
say
into
your
the
name.
store, yeah.
No, not really.
We're going to put you on blast publicly. No, if you come into the store and you're pulling we have an E rating, right? You're pulling the shit that Beth is talking about. If I go, oh, yeah. So what did you need from us today? If I say that to you, it might be because I am saying the subtext of that is bullshit. Put your money where your mouth is.
Exactly. Yes.
Like, it's complicated because I don't want people to feel like they have to come in and dump a bunch of money every time. We do appreciate a visit.
Yeah, let's say hi, browse around, whatever.
Yeah, if you don't need anything or you don't have it in the budget this week or whatever, you can come in and just say, hey, we love to see you. But I think it's just the posturing and the needing the validation that feels excessive and feels icky.
Disingenuous.
What a great word.
Mm-hmm. I just made it up.
Oh, Shakespeare. Yeah, so that's one. And that I think is just daddy issues. This is not a podcast for advice, but we're going to diagnose everyone that comes into our store on this episode, and we'll never be able to air it. So let's tell the funny story. You promised.
Okay, so the topic is, I hope it's funny now. What if I promised and I can't deliver?
This is a real drag.
But one time in my store,
Once upon,
were two young people, perhaps in their 20s.
okay.
They browsed around for a while. They had a great time. Everything was great. They checked out. They bought some books, checked out. Mm-hmm. They walked out of the store. Mm-hmm. They came back in very soon after
Okay.
to tell me that their car had been stolen. Do you remember this?
I do remember this, but it's fuzzy enough that you should tell it again.
They came back in and said their car had been stolen, and I was incredulous. There's
Right.
another big word.
Incredulous.
Because it's broad daylight
In
in
Geneva, New
Geneva.
York.
Pretty safe.
Kind of a snooze fest.
But, I mean, they were clearly shaken.
Right.
I mean, as you would be.
Agitated even.
So I went out on the street with them, and they're like, we were parked right here. The car's gone. And I was like, could it have been towed?
Right. Also doesn't happen often in Geneva, New York.
Weird.
Very
That somebody
strange.
would randomly come along and tow your car. You're in a parking spot. You have...
In that sense, it would be stolen. Just with a tow truck.
Yes, of course. So they were upset.
Right.
And I was... comforting them.
Somehow you, the shopkeeper, because you were the last person to see them, now have to manage this crisis for these two young people.
I think it's a good point that it wasn't my crisis to manage.
Right.
But here I am.
Any
Here
decent
they
person.
are. Any decent person.
Right.
So I'm like, let's talk about this.
Right.
It seems impossible to me that your car was stolen, but I guess we better call the police now.
Right. I guess we should go through the motions.
Right. So I called the police on their
Okay.
behalf. And as we were waiting for, GPD to arrive on scene,
Wee woo, wee woo.
I say to them, okay, what kind of car was it? Seems
Yeah.
weird somebody would take it.
Sounds like a
sometimes
crappy
these
car.
things are just, it was a crappy car. Sometimes, things randomly happen. They're more like pranks than
Right, right.
I'm going to hack your car up and sell it for parts.
So you're talking them down.
I'm talking them down. I'm comforting them in a way that, just to put it coldly, I'm not getting paid for.
You're not
I've
getting paid
left
for.
my shop. I'm out on the street. I'm taking care of their business.
And you didn't think that was going to be
That's
your
not my-
job
that's not
that
how I
morning.
plan my day.
When you get yeah. So the cops come through.
Well,
and,
what happens is, Marilla, we're out on the street. We're talking about it. I'm being like, listen, there's insurance. Maybe it's nearby. Any number of things could have happened. I'm sure it's going to be okay. The police will come and we'll handle this all together.
Of course,
all
we're
together.
it takes
you
a village.
and me and the police will handle this
the
all
stranger
together.
shopkeeper lady,
Right,
and you guys,
right.
my new children.
My new children. I'm here for you.
Mama Goose.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Then the boy part of this says to the girl part of this, wait a second.
Oh,
Did we park here?
goodness. Oh, my God.
I don't think we parked here.
No.
I think we maybe parked on the next street.
Oh, my God.
And then the girl part is like, the girl part.
The girl part.
Maybe that should be the title. The girl part says to the boy part, where is this story going?
Okay.
I think we did park on the other street.
Oh, my
And so
God.
they don't say anything to me.
To you,
Right.
Mama Goose.
Mama Goose. I'm just standing there and they're like, yeah, let's go over to that other street and see if our car's there.
Oh, my
So
God.
they left. They don't say thank you to me.
Peace.
The police are coming. They don't wait for the police. I wait for the police because
Oh, my God.
I feel like somebody ought to wait for the police.
Somebody should.
So they took off. Never saw them again. I
bet their
assume they
car-
found their
I
car.
bet they did.
I talked to the police. I was like, I guess this is kind of, sorry to bother you.
A nothing burger.
And so why did this come up for me? Emotional labor.
Yeah. That's a whole roller coaster of emotions that is all of a sudden in the forefront, and then poof, it's gone. They walk away down the sidewalk
With
and
no thanks, though. I think that's the
Not
thing that
even
like
one.
it sticks in my craw. Like,
Yeah.
fine. It's possible you don't know what street you parked on, especially maybe if you're not from around here. I don't know. But can you notice
I mean,
that I'm doing some work for you?
you're doing the most. You're doing the most. You made the call. You're comforting them,
I know.
and you're just a stranger.
But something about it, like I take it personally.
Yeah.
Because they didn't even notice.
Yeah.
They didn't even
And you still remember
acknowledge.
it. You still remember it years and years later.
Right.
It's still with you.
Well, I know you think I'm crazy for holding on to these things.
I
and
do.
With bitterness and
I do.
resentment.
I do.
That's-
But it makes you interesting and mysterious and dark.
And bitter and resentful.
And you know what? That is the spice of life, they say. Some say.
So emotional labor. That's how that came up.
Well, it's funny that you have that car story because I also have a stolen car story.
What? Tell it.
Yeah. So, and it's kind of funny because it's similar in a sense. I had a customer come to my store, and it was the first time. She's been a long time regular. It was the first time she came to our second location, and it was a beautiful Saturday morning. It was crystal clear, sunny, like the exact day that you want a longtime customer to come see your new shop. It was great. She brought her friend. They had a great shopping experience. They leave, and then they come back like 10 minutes later with this puzzled expression on their face. And I think they must have forgotten something, or what did we miss? I said, hey guys, what's going on? And same thing. They were like, I think
What?
our car was stolen. Guys, just so you know,
Your car's down the street.
your car's down the street. So I ask them immediately, okay, where were you parked? They were like, well, we swear we were parked right around the corner, and there's no like broken glass or anything, but maybe we forgot to lock it. And I asked them, what kind of car do you have? And I literally knew it in my heart. And she said it was a Kia. And I was like, of course it was a Kia. For those of you who don't know, there was a trend of stealing Kias in the United States. Perhaps if you're listening from Australia, this isn't a problem for you, but Kias were disappearing all over. So anyway, my heart sank. I said, all right, I guess we were doing this. And immediately I'm emotionally invested, and that's fine. I take them into the back room, which is always a mess. Sorry, guys. Take them into the back room. We call the cops. We, track the car. I make them a cup of tea. I sit down with them. The cops come. The car was indeed stolen.
Oh, wow. That's a twist.
There's the twist. It was really stolen. But now, we're bonded by this trauma together, because somehow I feel like it's somehow my fault that their car was stolen while they were shopping in my store.
Isn't that weird?
Which is weird. And for the record,
They're also blaming you.
no, what I was going to say is, for the record, they were delightful and they were so sweet, and they didn't come out and say verbally, this is all your fault for opening a second store and making us come here to shop here. But I felt in my heart that they might feel that way. So, all's well that ends fine. They got it figured out. They got their claim put in, and whatever happens in that process. But I felt so bad for that happening, like, quote unquote, on my watch, emotionally, that I followed up with her, and I was invested in that for the entire time it took. And like I said, she was a gem, and she was like, oh, thank you so much for the cup of tea and the, making us feel comfortable and letting us stay for, it took a couple hours, but I felt like it was the least I could do. And so I just think that's an interesting story in contrast to yours, because you didn't get any thanks at all. And this one is a real stolen car. And it did end up being appreciated. Like, the emotional investment was appreciated, but what a strange thing to navigate.
Yeah. I mean,
because now we're bonded for life over
as you
that.
were talking, I was thinking about, I've mentioned this on the podcast before, I don't know what episode, but one time I was in Seneca Falls. I took a spill on the street, as I'm prone to doing.
Okay. After a long night at the bar.
I just fell down. I fell down, and I was a little bit banged up. And I mean, I wasn't just walking and fell.
Okay. Move along.
There were some sidewalk problems.
All right,
I was
all right.
caught up in them.
Someone came up and pushed her from behind.
I was near Blush in Seneca Falls.
Oh, yes.
And I got banged up. I was like, holy hell, I'm hurt.
Yeah.
And I went into Blush.
Yeah.
And those poor ladies who were just running their day, they had to help me. They didn't have to help me.
Right.
They didn't have to help me, but they did help me.
Yeah.
And so there's the hypocrisy of one of the many hypocrisies on this episode. I think, though, what it is like, you're, as shop owners, as retail workers, as restaurant owners, whatever, we're forward facing in the community. We're like, we're accessible.
Right.
We're accessible. We're nearby.
We're safe.
We're safe,
so to speak.
Yep. So if you were mugged on the street, where would you go? You'd probably first go into the nearest shop or restaurant.
Right.
Because it's safe, theoretically.
Right. But whoever's in that shop or restaurant, goes home that night and unpacks that either in their journal or with their family or like
on Facebook posting or
on their podcast that nobody listens to. No. Yeah, it's not, it's an interesting, this topic is interesting because it's not that I don't want people to come in when they've fallen and
need help.
And it's not, I mean, I would never, ever say,
good luck with that. Good luck with your stolen car.
Yeah, good luck with your stolen car. Not my problem. I do think it's my problem in a sense. I know it's not, but in the literal. But it's just interesting because we all have those experiences as shopkeepers, and we all have to unpack that emotionally. But I don't know. You still think about going into that shop? Is it emotional? I wonder if that young couple, I wonder if that young couple still thinks about you.
They never think about me.
Oh, stop it. They were probably in love with you.
They didn't see this new haircut, so
That's
I don't
true.
know how they could have been.
Yeah.
But
Crazy.
I don't think they thought about me then. I don't think they've thought about me after.
I think they were just probably embarrassed. 20? They can't show their face again in your shop.
Maybe.
Yeah. No way.
I mean, I'm a little embarrassed about what happened in like nearby Blush.
Well,
You know, like
I mean, I would be
I'd
too if
still
I was
go
liquored
back.
up and
look it up. Yeah, 3:00 in the afternoon.
3:00 in the afternoon, wandering around Seneca Falls, singing at the top of my lungs. Oh, yeah, what do we do with that? I don't even know. And that's how it feels too when it happens because, for me, the cops came, they started taking care of it, and then, they got a ride, they went home, and then I just had to finish my day of work. Mm-hmm. So it feels, I don't know how to end this segment because I'm like, it kind of feels that way when you're during your work day and something comes up like that. You're like, okay, well, anyway, next.
Well, yeah. Can I, speaking of the middle of your workday, I want to review that story that we had on Threads about this man who visited my store multiple times.
Who brought in the checked bag worth of emotional labor that day?
Yes.
Yeah. Why don't we just dive into that one?
Okay, so I'm not gonna necessarily be able to tell the whole story
I don't think you
verbatim.
have to. It's on Threads if you want.
Okay. Yeah, go read the thread.
Yeah.
And
But let's get into it.
Okay.
The narcissist.
I mean, people throw around the term narcissist kind of casually, but I think this guy definitely qualifies for narcissism.
Yeah, I mean,
diagnosis.
tell us what you think, guys. Let her rip, Beth.
Yeah. So this guy came in, and it's a busy day at the store. I'm busy all the time, whether I look busy or not.
Right. But you had customers in the store.
I had customers in the store.
Okay.
It wasn't just him.
Okay, that's important to note.
Even so, I don't think he should have spent so long at my cash register randomly telling me about his divorce.
Oh, boy.
So this guy comes in, and he talks about, just randomly, apropos of nothing,
Yeah, man. Did he start making noises of
grunting, kind of
like I wish you'd ask what's wrong? Or did he just go into
Yeah.
it?
a little of both.
Ooh, I like that. I like it.
He's talking about, in a way, kind of like how he's doing some retail therapy because he's so depressed. Because he's been involved with this woman, his wife.
And whose fault is that?
For 17 years. And she just left him completely out of the blue. She just walked out. And he was completely shocked and devastated.
Blindsided.
Yeah.
Blindsided.
And he's a wreck about it.
Absolutely.
Because all he ever did, Marilla, was love her. All he did was love her.
Is that all?
He devoted his whole life to loving her.
Yes.
And supporting her and guiding her
In
through
what
her
way?
stupid decisions and her bad parenting and her affairs with hundreds probably of random men because she's a terrible slut.
Oh, yeah, right.
He called her a slut in the store. And
Mama.
I was like, I was taken aback.
Let me remind the listener, there are multitudes of customers in the store right now. Like, not just sad sack
This guy. not
narcissist boy.
This guy.
Yeah.
So he calls her a slut and a whore.
Oh, my God.
He uses the word fucking in terms of what she's doing with her pastor. I'm like, whoa,
That's
buddy.
so
like,
much.
back up, guy.
Was it Saturday? Was it a Saturday?
It might have been a Saturday.
That's a lot for a Saturday afternoon. Okay.
So when I looked shocked, he's like, well, you know, some women are like that.
Ew.
So
Ew.
even though she's such a terrible, terrible person, he has heroically
laid down his
stood
life
by her.
Yeah. Through it all.
Yep.
Been nothing but honest with her.
nothing but trying to help her.
Nothing.
By counseling
Kept
her.
her off the streets.
Yeah, but literally, actually, he said that she would probably be a drug addict. She would probably be in prison if he hadn't been so kind and
My
warm
Lanta.
and understanding and giving. And I'm like,
I mean, he sounds
dude.
like a catch to me.
I know. So I did get his number.
Oh, good. Went on a couple of dates. You know?
I know, but didn't go anywhere, sadly. Anyway, I mean, we posted that story on Threads, so
It is
people
true.
can
It is
go.
true. You can see all the nitty gritty details on there.
Many more details than we've shared here because I don't want to go on and on. You dropped that on Threads.
Yeah.
And people had some things to say.
Yeah. And, you know, that is like the most cartoonishly sad mudslide of emotional diarrhea that one could ever experience at their day job. Did he buy anything?
Well, yes, he
Oh,
did.
good. At least he was buying something. So as you're ringing up little gifties and books, you're hearing about the alleged escapades of his wife and his trauma and how broken up he is about
What am
it.
I supposed to say?
What are you supposed to say? Oh, they're there, you brave boy.
Right.
You big brave boy.
No. Like, how terrible for you.
She sounds like a real meanie.
But here's the thing. He came back later. Whatever I said, it must have been
got
right.
him.
Because, I mean, rights, quote unquote rights.
It
He
hit
must
him.
have felt seen and
Yes.
validated and heard because he came back.
Guys, can you believe what we have to deal with?
I know.
He came back. He came back.
He came back not to buy anything the second time.
Oh, great.
So a second visit. And this isn't his
Fast forward.
last.
Oh, his last. Okay.
This is not his last. Second
Oh.
visit is not his last. But
All
the
right.
second visit, I've got a line of people. I've got a person. I see him in the line second.
Oh, my God.
And then I've got a person behind
After him.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I ring out the first person and I'm like, oh my freaking God, this guy.
Here we go.
Here we go again. So he came back the second time. And when it was his turn, he said that he came back just because he wanted to thank me for my compassion. And he knew that because I was such a compassionate person, that I would want to know an update on what was going
Gross.
on.
We never want to. Oh, no, that's not true. We never want to know from that guy.
I don't want an update from that
We
guy.
don't want that update.
He knew I would want an update because I was so deeply compassionate. And he explained to me that what he had done was written her a long, long letter
Oh, my God.
to give her some insight
Oh,
into
her ways.
her behavior. He knew that reading the letter would benefit her.
Yeah. Again,
And-
laying down his life and putting
Yes.
hers before his.
Yes. And he also had bought her a very, 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 very expensive bottle of wine
Ugh.
so that she could drink
Oh.
this wine
Ew. Get wine drunk and read
enjoy
his letters.
his
sermon?
kind of
Diatribe?
Yeah, his kind explanation
Yes.
as to why
She
is a piece of garbage.
Skank ass hoe.
Yeah, seriously, Marilla. Like, he's using very vulgar language
Not that
to
I would ever use that language myself.
describe her. So,
Ew.
and then he's talking about how this is really the last straw with her. This is the last effort he's going to make to let her know how garbage she is.
He's telling you this over a retail counter
Yes,
with no products in his hand to buy.
I did not see a
There's-
credit card.
No carrot hanging in front of your nose
No.
for this.
But you know what there was somebody behind him waiting to check out.
Kelly's going to have to edit this so hard because all I'm doing is pounding my fists through this whole
Let's just not
episode.
download it.
So if you, let's just do it and get it out of the way. But if you hear a thump, a bump, a crash, it's just me
Merle's
kicking.
knocking over furniture. She's so pissed about this guy.
There's the disclaimer.
Okay. Why are we talking about this gentleman?
Why are we? Because what I'd really like is to meet this very interesting and vivacious
Oh my God.
woman.
I feel so bad for her.
She's probably a real pisser, and I say that in the best way.
I don't know, Marilla. I feel like she's probably just a nice woman who put up with a lot of crap from this guy for 17 years.
That's the definition of pisser. It's in the dictionary.
You brought her, you pisser, Marilla. I don't know where that came from. The 80s. That's where it came from. I pulled it out of the 80s.
But that's what I mean. When I say pisser, I mean a very nice lady who probably, like you said, put up with a lot of shit for many years. And now the question that is raised quite literally by our producer is, does this woman even exist?
Yeah, right. Right.
You're right, Kelly.
She may not exist. I know her theoretical name. I'm not going to say it.
Right. That would be gauche. But
He named her.
oh my God, what if he made her up? Just to get into your compassionate heart.
No.
We can't even process
Really?
that. No,
No.
she's real. She's real. And you know what she's doing? She's living her best life on a tropical island.
I hope she is sleeping with her pastor.
With-
God bless you, lady.
yeah, I bet
you
he's
deserve
hot.
it.
I bet he's hot. And I
He
bet
is
he
hot.
loves
Because
her.
men of the cloth.
Yeah. And I bet they never go to bed angry. Yeah. God. I just know that she's thriving.
I know that too, Marilla, and I'm so glad that this gentleman shared the story with me so that we could think about, what's her name? Kelly. Kelly's our producer.
That's our producer. A different Catherine.
Catherine.
Yeah. And her happy life
In her
now
happy life
that she's away
with
from
her
this
pastor, Father Bob.
man. Ew. Daddy Bob.
Yeah, that's hotter.
Yeah. You go get him, Kathy. All right. The point is,
What is the point?
we are scarred because this man came in and dumped all this on Beth, and all
Yeah.
we can do is put it on Threads.
Yes.
And thank goodness, or how sad is it that so many of you could relate?
But also, a few folks said that never happened.
Oh.
On our Threads account. That didn't
Yes.
happen. There's no way some man came into your store and dumped all that on you over a retail counter.
All this happened over a
retail counter.
Oh, sure. And you
Yeah.
know what? I couldn't say it better than this person right here on Threads. Username, probable possible.
Oh, wow. I wonder.
And
That
they
sounds really
said-
specific to this.
Right. Mm-hmm. And they said, oh, how I wish I were one of those people who say, quote, that never happened, unquote. What a lovely, comforting belief it must be. Congratulations to that woman. Imagine 17 years of his filth.
Oh, God, yeah.
And God bless Kathy and God bless probable possible.
you name her Kathy now.
Because we're friends now. Because I just love that perspective. Like, what
Yeah.
a fortunate
Point of view.
existence. Yeah.
If you don't think that these things happen. But you know what, Marilla? Like, there's a trope.
But forget that nicety.
There's a trope about people dumping on their bartenders or dumping on their cabbies because it's true. It happens.
Right, it happens.
People don't know when to be quiet and respect our space and
And sometimes just being in the same room with another person makes the people's nervous reaction is to just overshare. And so, bartenders and cab drivers.
But really anybody.
Like everyone knows that, when you're in a micro business, especially, you are quite often one-on-one with someone for a good 30 minutes.
Sometimes.
And some people don't know what to do with that, but just tell you everything about themselves, which sometimes is great, but sometimes that person who's telling you everything about themselves is rotten.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I'm sure that you have heard stories about so-and-so's divorce or, so-and-so's debilitating illness or, all sorts of terrible things. So-and-so lost their job. And you're there to sell oatmeal.
Yeah, but also get the dirt. And this is why I'm a hypocrite, is because sometimes I'm like, God, that's so emotionally heavy. And then other times I'm like, tell me everything. Tell me all about. Who's having an affair?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Tell me all about your bubble gut. I want to know. So you're right that this episode is definitely hypocritical because I don't know where the line is, but I think the line is that guy. That guy's an asshole. I think
the line is way before that guy. But another way that we're being hypocritical right now, sweet hypocrisy that we so often run into on
we
TYFU.
sip from the cup of hypocrisy.
It's like this whole episode is dumping on the listener.
Oh my God.
We've gone from cancer to divorce to, pandemic to... And I think we're probably going to go into politics pretty soon.
Let's jump into politics. We'll just tick it off the list. Why not?
Okay.
We love you guys. We do want you to come in and tell us about your lives. We want you to come in and shop at our stores.
For letting us share.
Isn't this podcast called Thank You for Understanding?
Yes, I guess it is.
We're fine. Mm-hmm. What are the rules? You're not supposed to talk about money. You're not supposed to talk about religion. You're not supposed to talk about politics.
And vaginas.
Too late. We've done all of those things. We've already done
all that. Yep.
All of those things. Mm-hmm. So let's circle back to politics. Beth, you have the floor.
Oh, come on. Don't make me start.
Well, no, I guess I can start. Crazy times.
Right. There seems to be a little tension.
A little bit of tension. Maybe you can't cut it with a knife, but maybe you could cut it with like a hacksaw.
Yeah, I was thinking
there's
axe.
Something to be cut. Something is going around. I think we can all empathize with that. You and I don't like to talk about politics in our businesses, nor do we like to talk about politics on the podcast. Right. We steer clear. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But the customers don't always steer clear. Nope. No, they don't. They come in, and we do have an episode on this. Don't remember which one. Yeah, the politics episode. For as much as we hate to talk about politics, we did a whole episode on it. Because we had to. Because whenever the political scene is rumbling. Which it is on a constant rumble right now. Yeah, and one could argue that depending on what your business is, it is constantly rumbling because there's constantly stuff happening. But whenever there is games afoot politically, somehow we are on the front lines of solving the geopolitical problems with whoever is standing across the counter from us. Right. Whether we would like to engage in that or not. Right. What is your go-to move when someone starts climbing up upon the soapbox politically? Because I have one. Oh, okay. Tell me, because I don't. Oh, you don't have one? I don't have a go-to move. I mean, I feel I get tense. And then depending on maybe the mood I'm in,
I might want to be a little bit pushy backy.
Ooh.
Right?
A little
Spice it up.
Ooh.
Sometimes
Play the devil's advocate?
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes if I'm feeling super healthy, I might want to engage.
Right.
You know, we've talked before that I have the banned book section in my store. So that brings
That
up
does. That probably brings it up a lot.
discussion. Yep, all the time. And one thing that I love about the banned book section is that whether you're on the left or the right,
Or somewhere in between.
You're almost saying to me the exact same sentences about what you think of the banned book section, because everybody thinks it's the other team that's banning the books.
Yes, and throughout history, they volleyed it back and forth many times. And your section is a really good example of that.
Yes.
I don't know. I haven't been to all the banned book sections in the world, but that's is truly outstanding.
Thank you, Marilla. Anyway, what's your go-to move?
That's crazy. Yep. Things are crazy. Yep. It's crazy.
So
Crazy times. That's crazy.
that's what you say? That's your go-to move? I'm like, what is she saying right now?
That's it. That's all I do. If I'm really trying to move somebody along, it is the quintessential, yep. What can you do? That's crazy. Sometimes I'll be like, that's why you got to get involved. That's crazy. Because like you could be telling me that everyone's crazy because they think the sky is blue and you think the sky is purple. You know the sky is purple. And I can still get through that transaction if I'm like, yep, times are crazy. Sky might be purple, but that's going to be $9.99. Thank you and have a great day. Like it's not, and that's mostly if I'm glad you said that when you're feeling healthy, you might engage because it's not that I won't engage, but I have that to fall back on when I have a store full of customers.
God, yeah.
That span the realm of political viewpoints. And someone is trying to tell me that birds aren't real. I still have to find some way to connect with that person, even if I think birds are real. And sometimes the only thing that we can connect on is that life is crazy. What can you do?
Do you feel like you have a responsibility to confront the person who is saying the thing that you disagree with? Well, how do I feel like I do? I feel like I can't just keep my head in the sand.
Wow. Okay, Beth.
Okay, sorry.
No, that's fine. I feel fine about it. I don't think there is one size fits all answer to that question. Just like I can't always just say that's crazy and move on. Like, obviously, there are caveats to that. Obviously, there are moments where I feel like I should say something for my own personal responsibility or to help their perspective, like maybe provide some perspective to the person across the counter from me. But I don't know that I feel a responsibility per se. I do feel that people should be doing their homework, and like if they don't know what they're talking about, maybe they shouldn't be spouting off at the storekeeper across the counter from them. And maybe I don't owe them a lesson right now in politics.
One day.
Like it's not my job, in a sense. Sometimes I am a hypocrite and I participate and I will give my thoughts. But I don't know that I feel like it's my responsibility to, unless we're talking like, I don't know, they're going to go out and kill a bunch of birds. I don't know what the example would be. That's usually where I land, I would say.
It's so hard because it's not just that one customer. It's the next customer and the next customer and the next customer and the next customer and the next customer. It gets so, you cannot engage with every single customer.
Right. And it's funny because in my business, even though a lot of people assume that everyone that shops in my environmentally friendly store is of one political ilk, it's simply not the case. And so usually if I have one person climb up on their soapbox while we're ringing up their goods and we have a conversation, that person will leave and the next person in line will then climb up on their soapbox and tell me why that person was so wrong.
Here's hypocrite time. Ready?
Let's do it.
Okay. Here's how I'm a hypocrite, or was one time.
Once upon a time. Not anymore.
Been to therapy. I was at the bank one time, left my store, walked down the street, went to the bank. Standing in line at the bank, I hear this woman who I would classify as a freaking nutcase.
Sounding off.
Sounding off. Not just to the teller, but loud enough so that everyone in the bank could understand and appreciate her point of view.
And either validate or fight her.
Right.
Yeah.
I felt like she might have been sharing some misinformation. And I was a little bit upset. And I did not confront this lady. She finished up her transaction and she left. What I did was, unfortunately, stupidly and hypocritically, go up to the teller. I'm next in line. And I'm like, that was a bunch of bullshit. I can't believe that lady was just blah, 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 blah.
And then the teller said, yeah, that's crazy.
That's crazy.
Well, times are crazy. Right.
Yeah, so I'm that person. Yes.
Yeah,
and
like we're all of those people at the same time. I think we've all been those
people.
Even being
sensitive to it, I did it.
So this is where we end the episode.
And the podcast forever.
The end.
So I want to be a safe space for people, and I know everyone is upset about everything at the moment.
We are too.
In
so many ways.
I do not want for our listeners, I know I can think of some podcast listeners who have been in my store having political discussions with me.
Yeah.
And I want to be careful right now to let them know that I'm not talking about you, but I'm talking about you. Just like, it's not that I don't want to talk about this stuff. I just want to admit between you and me that it gets, and all of our,
and the many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of listeners around the world,
that it does get tiring sometimes. Sometimes it's hard.
Yeah. And so like what we're trying to say is if you know a shopkeeper, maybe just like give them presents and buy them lunch and then tell them how beautiful they are and visit them
Compliment
and say,
their new haircut.
Wow, what a great haircut, Beth. And maybe,
and I'll be like, yeah, I'm living my best life right now.
Yeah, I don't have any
care
problems.
About politics.
That's right. No one ever talks to me about their problems or their politics. And
they just come in and tell me how hot I am.
And they buy stuff.
Yes. They spend a lot of money.
Yeah. And so basically, like, we're okay. And we do want to talk about important things with you guys. But I think, just like anyone, sometimes it can be distracting emotionally from our job. Yeah.
One time you were in my store, remember? One time you were visiting me. We were having a little social call. A little.
What? On the clock? Perhaps we were having a cup of coffee.
As we are wont to do. And I had a customer come in. I don't know if you remember this.
I do remember
a good
this.
A customer I really like.
A lovely person.
Yes, right. And I don't know how it happened that all of a sudden we were talking about politics.
Somehow this customer brought up politics and it was a collectively assumed vent fest.
Right. And you and I have gotten into this. We've been practicing with our customers in our stores.
Yes.
How to be like, well, that's crazy. Crazy times. Crazy.
Yeah.
And you went into that mode at my store.
Right away.
You're like, that's crazy.
Because you know what? It was like shock therapy. It immediately just like, okay, I'm on the job now. And I have just been like jolted into customer service mode.
P.S. though, side note, I love how you sometimes customer service my customers.
I basically work for Beth when I'm in her store.
So when you visit and somebody walks in the door, you're like, hey, how are you today? Welcome. So funny.
I did help a customer find a book one day. And I feel proud of that. My career at Stomping Grounds. So yeah, it was so funny because we were having this cup of coffee with each other and an enjoyable conversation. And then we were having an enjoyable conversation with this very pleasant customer. And then as soon as it turned into like an emotional dump.
Yes.
It was like you and I both like put on our shopkeeper hats.
Yep.
We weren't just having a cup of coffee anymore. It was like we put on our shopkeeper hats and we were immediately in the that's crazy mode and diffuse in case a customer walks in.
Yep.
So we're not in the middle of a situation.
We're not going to let this go off the deep end.
Yeah. Even if we could relate and empathize and agree with certain things. Right. Entirely. The thought in my mind as a business owner, as a shopkeeper is, okay, how do we acknowledge, empathize, but like move along so this doesn't become a big thing because it's now our responsibility emotionally. And it got weird. I tried to bring up some things. We tried to laugh it off a little bit.
Yeah. And you said even, I think you said like, well, I guess, you just got to try to laugh about these things.
Right. Because if you don't laugh, you might cry. Like something like that. Like a platitude.
Yes, it was a platitude.
It was a platitude.
It was, what's the word, Marilla? Almost cliche.
Could be. Some would say. Throwing out cliches and platitudes willy-nilly.
Yeah, you're good at it. And you said, oh, guess you got to laugh. And then this customer said, you're going to be laughing all the way to the gas chamber or something like that?
That is exactly what this customer said. And let me tell you guys, it harshed the vibe. And I
just don't know what to say.
I don't know what to say. There is nothing to say except if you are a small business owner and you have been gobsmacked by a moment like that, you're not alone. Because we know that even the most well-intentioned people will have those moments, and sometimes they come out in our stores. And then you have to navigate it.
Marilla, I got to say, if I'm going to be honest, politics aside, I felt overwhelmed by that in an emotional way. Like I can't cope anymore. I can't cope with people saying things like this in my store, day after day, hour after hour, minute after minute. I just can't cope with it. I really felt a little bit of a breaking point. This is not the episode of the podcast I'm going to cry.
No?
Because it never is.
Because it feels like you might be misty. No, it's true. That was a very stark moment where I felt like, where is the line where we don't there anymore? Like, where is the moment where we get to shake that person and say, snap out of it? Why would you put someone through that you don't even know you're going to leave?
Working at a counter.
That's working at a counter. That's trying to sell you a birthday card. I mean, and I know it's because they feel comfortable with us. And it's
a relationship. We have a relationship with our customers.
Right.
They trust us.
Right.
They connect with us.
And we value that.
Of course, but I don't know where the line is. And sometimes I have to say for myself, the line moves all the time.
Right. I think that's fair.
It could be moving customer to customer. It could be moving day to day.
Right.
Like I'm healthier some days than others.
Exactly.
I'm more capable. Like maybe I didn't sleep well enough the night before to be able to navigate this with grace and poise and dignity and wisdom.
Maybe I just watched a documentary about trash and I'm particularly sensitive about the environment today.
Yeah, or the Holocaust.
Or the Holocaust, perhaps. Yeah, like you name it, you don't know what that person behind the counter is going through. Here's another trope, perhaps a cliche. You never know what someone's going through. But I think sometimes when customers come in and they always find us in our little box and we're always the same little shopkeeper archetype, I don't know. It's like they don't think about the fact that we might not be emotionally ready for that kind of wisecrack. If it even is a wisecrack, I don't even think it is.
But what a thing to wisecrack about too.
That's what I mean. Like, I don't know if that even...
It's bad if it's a joke. It's a lot if... I mean, you know
There's
what I
so
mean.
much to that.
But let me ask you this. It just occurred to me, like, I wonder if I would have handled that differently had you not been there. But you and me seeing each other in that moment, if that makes any sense, like...
It was like a shared experience. It was a vulnerable shared experience where we both got to see each other handle that situation. And we don't usually ever get to see each other handle that situation. We usually have to do that by ourselves and then get together for coffee and be like, you won't even believe what happened to me this week. And then we get to unpack it in our own telling.
Right.
And it felt a little naked to just like...
I know.
But also together.
Yeah.
Like, it was nice. It was kind of like the podcast.
You ever have these moments where, like, you're dealing with something hard in your life and you think you're navigating it fine, and then somebody, like, comes up to you and puts their hand on your arm and says,
"How are you
I
doing?"
see you.
Yes.
And that's the thing that breaks you?
Yes.
That's the thing that hurts you the most? I think that's sort of what... Now, neither one of us cried.
No.
We were just like, whoa, that was fucked up.
But in a more real sense, we cried on the inside, embracing one another in that moment.
It was
truly
nice to be able to share it, though. And because if something like that happens in your store while you're alone and you're just left to deal with the emotional weight of it,
you just sit there for a second. You're like, what the fuck?
Did anybody see that? No,
just me.
Just me.
Okay, just me and my fishbowl. It was a very marked moment for me. And like I said, we laughed it on. We laughed it off. We moved on. But I think it was one of the examples that made us think, you know what? That was so poignant for us as two shopkeepers to experience this offhand remark. Maybe we should talk about it on the podcast, where we know full well there's a lot of shopkeepers out there probably experiencing the same thing right now.
Right now, in particular, it's harder because things are more amped up and everybody's upset.
And uncertain, yeah. And it always comes back to the little shopkeepers that have no business diving into like these heavy, I mean, not no business, but it's not our job to dive into those.
So I'm worried that this customer may be a listener of the podcast and is going to feel exposed when they hear us telling this story. Do you want to say anything to that person? Or like, I want people to be able to trust us.
Right. It's tricky, I think, because I think if that person is listening to the podcast, again, we don't bring this story up to pick on this person particularly. I think that's my heart behind it. We're not ever bringing up these stories, except for that asshole who divorced his wife.
I hope he's listening. He's probably not. But
we rarely bring up a customer example just to pick on someone out of the meanness of our hearts. I think that this was just a moment where it was very apparent the emotional weight that small business owners carry that has nothing to do with their vocation, in a sense. And be careful with what you say and think about what people might be going through and who might be in the store.
That's another thing.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Who knows who's browsing the shelves as you're
having your moment.
How it reflects on our store.
Right.
That you're saying something and you want us to get on board with what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's a lot to ask of us.
At a moment's notice. So I guess to stay on brand for me, be mindful of what you're saying to us, and especially in uncertain times, think before you speak, especially when you're in a public space, and maybe send your favorite shopkeeper a card, something nice. Like, I don't know. Because there could be some days where we're white knuckling it. And you don't know. You won't notice because we're not going to show you.
Yeah, Marilla, I know we're done with this episode, I think.
It's ending.
Yeah, it's ending.
We're winding down.
Yeah, this is really maybe the summary, maybe not. But I wish somebody would come in and ask us how we're feeling rather than assume that we're feeling the same way that they are.
Yeah.
Does anybody ever think to say, what do you think about the state of affairs today?
Yeah, how's it impacting you right now from a day to day?
What are your feelings?
Yeah.
But it's always a dump.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that feels yucky.
And sometimes
it's an assumption.
Right. And sometimes if people do ask that question, they're kind of just like they've already made the assumption and they just want you to say something so that they can jump in and tell you how they feel. Yes. Like it's
it's disingenuous.
It's disingenuous.
That word that I made up, we're using twice in an episode.
Brought to you by the word disingenuous. So yeah, I think it's an interesting take. But I don't know if I want people to come in and ask me how I feel. I want people
that's
to
terrible
come in
too, isn't it?
Yeah,
in its own way.
I want people to come in and support the store, and I want people to tell me all about the juicy details in their life that I want to know about, but none of the juicy details that I don't want to know about, and bring me snacks. Is that so much to ask?
You said snacks. Okay.
Snacks.
Okay. Anything else? This has been a rough one.
This is going to be a 3-day episode. I feel like I have emotionally dumped enough on our listeners at this point. I might be able to sleep tonight.
Shut up. You're such a liar. Of course you're going to be able to sleep tonight.
Yes, I
Listen to every other episode. Marilla's fine with the sleeping. Yep. I am not.
Okay, well then Beth is going to be able to sleep tonight.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Okay, I just want to say something a little bit lighter. We've got some new sponsors who joined us.
New season, new sponsors.
Yep. But we still have some slots available. So if you want to join a very controversial,
political, emotionally heavy,
real bummer of the podcast, let us know. We can let you know what those details look like. We've got some spots open for later in the season.
You're a mad genius, Beth.
Oh, in what way? By mentioning this?
I forgot about. Yeah, I totally forgot.
We got to pay our bills.
That we have to pay our bills.
Yeah,
that we can
I'm
have
a business
sponsors.
owner. So.
Yeah, well, at least one of us is. Yes, let us know if you want to sponsor TYFU Pod or Kelly's Lavish Lifestyle.
We chat about the biz. It is the way it is. Thank you for understanding.
We sincerely thank you for understanding. Please visit us at tyfupod.com to learn more about the show, share prompt ideas, or tell us about your own small business experiences. We may include your story in a future episode. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube at tyfupod or at tyfupod.com. Our theme music was composed by Marilla Gonzalez. The show is produced by Kelly Walker. Too bad for Kelly Walker. This is a wild ride.
I know.